Welcome to DEMOCREPUBLIX, where we cover the real news that matter to we the people. Washington Post. Kaiser's an impressive witness in the book for Kavanaugh. HotAir.com reports that, how did the New York Times bury this lead? While CBS Evening News report from last night might have been implicitly critical of the New York Times reporting, the Washington Post Aaron Blake leaves that mostly as subtext. However, Blake emphasizes just how big a game changer Leland Kaiser's testimony is in the new book, The Education of Brett Kavanaugh. Far from an eyewitness that corroborates Christy Blasey Ford's ambiguous allegations against Kavanaugh, Kaiser became a character witness for the defense, Blake reports. Kaiser described having many more reservations than she initially let on. She said she tried to assemble the details as described by Ford, but she called her lawyer and told him, quote, "You know what? I don't feel good about something." First, she said she wouldn't have just left Ford at a party without accounting for Ford's ride home. Quote, "It would be impossible for me to be the only girl at a get-together with three guys, have her leave, and then not figure out how she's going to get home," Kaiser said. Kaiser said she doesn't remember many small gatherings like the one Ford described, nor does she remember hanging out much with Georgetown prep students, which Kavanaugh was. She maintained she didn't even know who Kavanaugh was back then after reviewing pictures and maps. Quote, "Those facts together I don't recollect, and it just doesn't make any sense," Kaiser said. Kaiser also says she spoke with many people who, quote, "wanted me to remember something different," suggesting that there was pressure on her to toe the line. At that, she told FBI about. There have been more than suggestions about witness tampering. Reporting on that point stretches all the way back to last October, when the Wall Street Journal broke that part of the story first. It involved a former FBI agent named Monica McLean, who had also reportedly helped coach Blasey Ford through her polygraph examination. The FBI sent a separate package of information to the Senate Judiciary Committee at the time dealing with the tampering allegations, but this is the first time that Kaiser herself has detailed them, including the potential threat of being smeared. Whether that came from McLean or others is uncertain. Apart from that, what does Kaiser think of Kavanaugh himself? She has no recollection of him at all in her high school social circle. But despite her affiliation as a Democrat, Kaiser finds him very impressive. He has a very impressive record. Blake warns that Democrats can't just ignore Kaiser's expanded testimony on these matters. This new interview suggests that someone who could have been a star witness for Ford, though, is anything but. And as Democrats go big on calling for Kavanaugh's impeachment, despite a key clarification from the Times that the supposed victim of the newly alleged assault doesn't recall it either. Kaiser's account isn't one they can simply ignore. It's a significant implicit defense of Kavanaugh from someone with plenty of motivation to be on the other side of this story. So no one is corroborating anything that Blasey Ford said. And then the new person that popped up, I believe her name is Rodriguez, they try to say that Kavanaugh sexually assaulted her, but she says she has no recollection of that. So I'm thinking if someone was sexually abused, they would definitely have a recollection of that. But the article goes on to say that they certainly could try to ignore it, even though Jan Crawford pointed out last night that it makes Blasey Ford 0-4 among her own hand-picked witnesses to her account. Kaiser's outright denial and her expressed lack of confidence in her friend's story should have actually been the New York Times lead in their news section. And I agree with that. I mean, no one has corroborated what Blasey Ford said. She had 4 witnesses that said people saw Kavanaugh sexually abuse her and stuff, but all 4 of them said they don't know what she's talking about. The article goes on to say that in other circumstances, 4 denials from Blasey Ford's own list of corroborating witnesses would have rendered her claims invalid. If her claims were invalid, the Deborah Ramirez claims would have had no credence, especially since it took her 6 days with activist lawyers to connect Kavanaugh to her claims. And her list of 7 corroborating witnesses had even less connections to Ramirez's claims that Blasey Ford did to hers. So the Ramirez is a different woman. The one that came out that came out this weekend, I can't remember her name, but she said she has no recollection of any of that stuff happening. In other words, the real story from the book should have been that Kavanaugh nearly got railroaded, not that he got away with anything. Blake's a little too kind to connect all those dots, but at least he's warning Kavanaugh's opponents that they're out there to be connected. So more stuff coming out that this whole thing on Kavanaugh is made up to smear him. I'm not seeing any evidence or any corroboration that he sexually abused any of these women. No one has corroborated any of this stuff. But let me know what you think. Do you think Kavanaugh really is a habitual sexual abuser, or do you think this whole thing is made up to try to discredit him? Leave your comments down below. Like, share, and please subscribe. Go to youtube.com and subscribe, and check out DEMOCREPUBLIX.com for the latest in news. Until next time. We live in a really nightmare. We live in a really nightmare.